Need creative inspiration? Check your local library. I may love sketching nature in nature, but it's not always practical or even possible. Sometimes I work from photos I've taken. Sometimes I search the internet for reference photos. And sometimes I swoon over the gorgeous pages of books like I'm using in this week's video. Come take a look. One great resource for finding creative inspiration is your local library. I recently borrowed this book and used it for inspiration to expand my organic shape library, I guess you could call it. In January, one of the things we will be doing is talking about the importance of doodling and how it can become a vital part of our creative self-care routine. This week is its more focused cousin, sketching. For me, specifically organic shapes. Maybe you have a book at home with interesting seeds, plants, or like you can borrow one from the library or look online. I didn't give myself quite enough space on this one for as large as I went, but that's okay. I'm focusing on shape. This one I went over several times because I couldn't quite get the shape right. I know that I focus on process over product in our Better with Art journaling, but there's nothing wrong with also using it to improve our skill, as long as we don't allow our desire for a certain outcome overwhelm our enjoyment and pleasure and relaxation in the process, in getting lost in the shape and line of nature. I remember it must have been in junior high, my art teacher's frustration with me with one project when we were drawing autumn maple leaves. I could not get what I knew about a maple leaf out of my mind and just focus on the actual shape in front of me. Today's project of sketching helps with that. These sketches I just did on some scrap paper I had folded together while sitting comfortably on my couch one evening, just relaxing with art making. No video, no pressure, just enjoying the shape and line. If you are interested in looking for this book at your local library or ordering it through interlibrary loan or ordering it on Amazon, it's called Seeing Seeds, A Journey into the World of Seed Heads, Pods, and Fruit, with photography by Robert Llewellyn and written by Terry Dunn Chase. Here's the picture I have chosen for this week's video. I wasn't too sure about the pen I chose at first, and after I tested it, I decided to find a gel pen. I was so focused on what I was doing, I didn't even notice I had set the pen down where I did. I start with a single line, even though the stem is wider than that. So I have the stem shape to work with, but I don't end up with wide lines in front of other elements like seeds and leaves. I would encourage you, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, and perhaps especially if it makes you feel uncomfortable, to use a pen for today's sketching. Well, any day's sketching, because sketching is not about a perfect result. It's about quickly getting down what we see or what we're thinking. Capturing these shapes with just a pen, I don't put down every single of these fluffy, I guess they're flowers, because they would get lost. We are going for the shape and the line, but more of an impression than an exact representation. Sketching with a gel pen, especially of this size tip, doesn't allow for a lot of fussy detail in a sketch. Again, we just want to make a quicker impression of what we are seeing, as opposed to capturing every minute detail. Sketching isn't meant to take a long time, so pay attention to what's there, but don't get distracted by every little piece of it. For something with lots of close together parts, like this particular stem, focus on both the outside of the shape, the impression, and the details of the finer shapes, but instead of each little bit, the defining characteristics. What can you put on your paper that follows the shape but remains distinct when there are too many things clumped together to accurately capture in this format? Here I am satisfied with my impression and fleshing out my stem and adding some of the little details that were up close to the lower part of the stem before adding my larger stem. Again, with the same single line to give my shape, which I didn't like my shape apparently, and it took me a moment to refocus. I decided to work on my big leaf next. Had to touch that up, despite the fact, as I always say, it's just our art journal. I will say that focusing on the jagged edges of the leaf did at times cause me to slightly lose shape of my edges, but that's okay. It also worked really well. My jagged edges aren't quite the same as that of the picture, but again, that's okay. I'm learning, I'm experimenting, and I am further training my eye to see what's there and my hand to follow what my eye sees, not any preconceived ideas of shape I have stuck in my brain. It also adds to what I have in my brain as far as shapes go, shapes that I can draw. This type of sketching also gives us more to work with when we are doodling. I am a doodler in meetings, when I have to listen to things, and honestly, sometimes I get bored with the shapes I return to over and over again. The eye is one thing I doodle frequently. It sounds weird, but I am dissatisfied at times with my organic planty shapes. So not only am I using this week's exercise to improve my skill at drawing plants and organic lines for outside my art journal, it can also help my brain have more lines and shapes and impressions it's comfortable with that can just flow out in my doodling without effort, because that's the point of doodling. And as I mentioned, we will be talking more about doodling in January, before or after a 2-part project that's a therapeutic outlet that will help us manage our chaos. This week, I want to return to last week's concept of art making as a gift we can give ourselves. And through the benefits we receive, we can bless others. Exercising our creativity is vital to our mental health. If we aren't giving ourselves opportunity to create in ways we find meaningful and ways that we enjoy, we can't be as healthy. Art making is something that can be so balancing and healthful, even if you don't consider yourself an artist. And the truth is, the more you make art, the better you become at art, even if that's not your main goal, as it's not the main goal of Better With Art journaling. Pointing out something I'm doing here, the veins in this leaf are smooth because I am just working with one pen, and it's a gel pen with minimal ability to change the weight of my line. And particularly because the edges of my leaf are jagged, I went with a more dashed line to minimize the visual weight of the veins. It was more effective in some sections of the leaf than others. And you may have noticed when I pointed out where I smudged the ink, which is a drawback of using this type of gel pen. Last week, we talked about how art making is a gift we should give ourselves, and how the benefits we receive also bless those around us as we function with greater grace. This week, as we enter a new year, let's act on acceptance of the value of practicing creative self-care with art making. Whether or not you participate in Better With Art journaling, this prompt is also something to consider whether or not you write anything. But putting it down in words can help solidify it in your mind and help you build a habit. What small step could you take to prioritize art making as creative self-care more in the weeks to come? If you don't yet have a regular art making practice, you could consider something like getting up 15 minutes earlier 1 or 2 mornings a week to make art. You don't need a lot of time to practice creative self-care. For today's exercise, if you have less time than it's taking me to sketch these branches, you could choose a simple leaf or a set of leaves or a flower. If you're not feeling the plant thing, choose something you would like. Be sure to start with something with simple lines, and shapes. Try to avoid too much detail and choose which details you need to draw to create the look of your object. We're just making simple sketches to exercise our creativity and learn. If you're looking for more motivation, you could choose to reward yourself with an art supply if you meet the goal you set. If cost is a concern, you could start saving a little money each week. But remember, you don't need to spend a lot of money to reclaim your creativity. You don't need to buy all the things right off the bat. As you move forward, invest in what brings you the most joy. As I have been for the first 2 years of my YouTube channel, I will be back with weekly creative self-care inspiration through small art and journaling prompts every Sunday. It started with the 52-week art journal journey on New Year's Day of 2023 and continued through 2024 as Better with Art, as it will continue in 2025. If you found me as a result of my 100 collage papers this year, I hope to be getting back to Wednesday studio videos. However you found your way to my channel today, be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. Everything I post is designed to encourage you to make art and exercise your creativity. I would love to hear in the comments how you are practicing creative self-care with art making and how you plan to encourage yourself in the month to come. Another way to share is to find the link below to join my private Better with Art online community Facebook group. Also in the description is a link to my recommended art journal for my Better with Art style of art making with dry, wet, and layered materials and some other arty things. Give me a thumbs up if I have encouraged you to practice creative self-care with art making. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who needs to be reminded that taking time for art is not a waste of time, and be encouraged to reclaim their creativity and practice creative self-care. As mentioned, I will be back next week with another small art and journaling prompt. Thank you for the opportunity to encourage you to practice creative self-care with art making. Make art, because we are better with art.